In a world with entirely too many shows about cars, this is another pointless automotive podcast.
That looks good to me. Welcome back to another Pointless Automotive podcast. On this episode, we've got some very special guests. We've got Brad and Andrew of Auto Off Topic fame. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us. I don't know if fame is the word I would use, but we'll take it.
You accept infamy.
Infamy is good. Infamy is good or bad, I guess, depending. But
it works. Yeah, so I definitely want to turn the mic over to you guys. But first, seriously, thanks again for coming on the podcast. I know we've been talking about it for a while. A couple other things I just wanted to say. I personally been listening to you guys for a long time, quite a few years now. And congrats on episode 300.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we can all
thanks.
Cheers to that, guys, for real.
Salud.
Yeah, I will drink my non-alcoholic beverage and cheers to your
there you go.
alcoholic beverages.
Did you guys make a bunch of Sparta jokes? I feel like for 300.
Yeah, we didn't.
Made it on the cutting room floor.
We didn't make any.
It's a very popular category of joke, isn't it? Sparta jokes, Frank.
I will say we did a better
Sparta.
job. We did a better job with 300 than 200 because we released an episode, so we got something going.
Was it about the Chrysler 200?
We'll just say it was. We'll just say it was.
Then that's why it never released.
It'll always be a Sebring to me.
The fancy Sebring. Yeah, we did have episode 300, and we had a guest of ours on who's part of our Discord group that we have for our podcast. So it was just kind of a nice little, I guess, called a fan service, right? So
yeah,
but yeah,
awesome.
thank you for listening. I'm sorry you've listened for a couple of years, but I'm also glad you have. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, so I want to kick it over to you guys. I thought it makes the most sense in my illogical mind that you guys kind of go over your car background stuff individually first, and then come together for the perfect union that is Auto Off Topic, and bring everybody up to speed.
Sure. Do you want the long story or the short story from each of us? Or kind of the medium story?
We've got
probably medium.
Yeah, medium rare. Yeah.
Andrew, do you want to start? Or you want me to start here? So, okay, excellent. I'll give it a start. So here we go. Andrew and I have known each other for, probably 30 years, more than 30 years. He lived across the street from me as children, so we kind of were forced to be friends, I guess, for better or for worse. Legally, yeah, it had to be. But fortunately, both of our fathers were into cars, and it just kind of grew the same passion with us. So we started by hanging out in our individual driveways across the street from one another, playing with cars with pedals, and then eventually plastic models and radio controlled cars, and eventually video games, and then real cars. And eventually we were like, hey, there's this new thing called a podcast. Actually not a new thing, but it's a thing called podcasts. And we were listening to a few different automotive themed podcasts, and there were some that were like, man, there's a lot of misinformation out there. If those guys can do it, obviously we can do it. And I think it was Andrew's idea, and it just kind of happened at a time when I also had some time and was like, all right, let's do this. So we had a couple of podcasts that we listened to at the time, most of which are gone now, other than us. And yeah, may they rest in peace. And our mutual friends, I see you're wearing the DWA shirt. That was another one of the podcasts that we listened to. One of the ones that had the least amount of bad information, but they were good. And so we just kind of decided to do it, and we ran with it. And at the time, I was still living in the Northeast, where Andrew still is. I live in Phoenix, Arizona now, for those who are listening. And we have just continued to do it now for, 6 years, 300 episodes. And it's been a hell of a run. And I thank people like you for listening, because, we don't know who's listening, because it's just Andrew and I chatting once a week about cars. It makes it almost okay for two dudes just to get in the phone and talk about cars. That's something you don't just do anymore. You don't just call somebody and talk.
Right.
So when I moved away from, New England, and therefore away from my friend group out there, it's a way for Andrew and I to keep in touch and just chat about cars. So it's the whole brotherly love thing, I guess. Right. So As far as my cars, what do you guys already know? Because I don't want to get in too deep here, but
Oh no.
I guess I don't know, just rattle off a quick list. I know quick is relative. You'll probably forget
Quick
if you have
list.
to go back, right?
yeah, yeah, Andrew's rolling his eyes already. So let's see. There is a total of 14 current cars, and I don't know what you guys' numbers is at, but I know that it's also high, and I'm
Yes.
hoping I'm underneath you guys, but I don't think I am.
I mean, combined, you are, yeah.
All right. So there's 14 cars. I'll rattle off the important ones real quick.
Yes.
Number one, I have a 1968 Camaro. It's an
Nope.
SS 350 convertible, unrestored, original paint, original interior, original engine car. 4-speed, 350, base model SS, radio delete, only options, power disc brakes, and convertible top. Everything else is
Sick.
as you got it. Quick version of the long story. It was bought as a company car. The original owner had a certain budget to stick with, and his rules were American car from this area of dealerships. So he ordered a brand new Camaro from Chevrolet and said, delete everything to get me a 350 stick, disc brakes, and a convertible top. So
Nice.
that's what I have. So my father bought that car when I was 8 years old with the intention of giving it to me because he has a 67 SS that he's owned since the early 1970s. And he wanted me to have a Camaro for my first car. So I got that car, didn't drive it daily, but I've been driving that car since I was 16 years old.
Sick.
Just to give it an idea, I'm 42 now, and I've been driving it for quite some time and somehow never ruined it. So I only ever changed the wheels and maintained it and avoided all of the pitfalls of 16 to 20-year-old car ownership with it. So that's the car that's the car that people really know me from, that have known me for years. It's not in my wheelhouse of normal cars. I have
Sure.
mostly import stuff, and I can turn that all with a lot of thanks towards Andrew, because around about 1997, I was driving an Olds Cutlass and my Camaro, and Gran Turismo came out. And I would say that, Andrew and I spent conservatively hundreds of hours playing Gran Turismo 1 together and just learning the deep Japanese car culture and learning about rally cars and sedan racing and just stuff that you weren't really exposed to. I mean, my biggest exposure to foreign cars growing up was my father had some Triumphs and some MGs, and I was told not to buy RX-7s and some other stuff of the like. So unfortunately, I never got into the import stuff until a little bit later, but I bought an Eagle Talon when I was just graduated high school, TSI all-wheel drive turbo. And next thing you knew, I was stuck real deep in the world of older Mitsubishis, and I've never kind of gotten out of it. So
There you go.
it all started with the Eagle Talon. That was number one.
So we went convertible Camaro, 68. We've got the Eagle Talon TSI all-wheel drive.
DSM, yep.
Mm-hmm. What else?
Sure
what else
thing.
is in the
So,
stable? If we're doing
the
all
Camaro's
14,
still
we might be
there.
here for a minute.
Yeah, the Camaro's still there. The Talon is gone, but the Talon
Cool.
opened up my eyes to Mitsubishi's, Japanese cars,
Cool.
and the world of rally. And it was the car that Andrew and I went to attend rallies, not participate in, but spectate with my Talon. Or then he got a Talon, and we have another friend who had a Ford Probe at the time that we all used to go pile in and go up to these rallies up in Maine, which was 3 or 4 hours from our house. But it got us into that whole thing, and learning about the Talon kind of got me to dive deep into Mitsubishi rally history. I knew we couldn't get Evos. The Talon, the Eclipse, the closest we got in this country to an Evo at the time, with the 4G63, the all-wheel drive. I didn't know anything about Gallants, which obviously is the version of the Evo kind of that we got, the Gallant base versus Lancer base. But it got me into that whole history of Mitsubishi cars. And, next thing you know, I had Conquests and Starions. And then I went off the deep end. And somehow in the current collection, I have 3 Dodge Colts, which are early Mitsubishi rally cars because they're Dodge Colts, but they're rear-wheel drive, and they're either Mitsubishi Gallants or Mitsubishi Lancers. So the car that most people know me for now probably is the 78 Dodge Colt, the blue one that I've had for quite some years. And it's kind of grown with me and has, wheels changed and it's lowered and has the bumper tuck and the rally lights in the front that were actually a gift from Andrew for being in his wedding. So
Nice.
it's definitely, it's definitely the car people know you by. So current fleet is 68 Camaro, 3 Dodge Colts, 78, 79, 74. There's a 91 RX-7 convertible. There's a 1971 NSU 1200C, which is a little rear engine German car. There's, to go back to Mitsubishi's, there is a 93 Eclipse, a Euro spec car, a 1984 Plymouth Sapporo, which is a later Mitsubishi Galant, I call it Plymouth. There's a pair of Toyota Cressidas, a blue 79 and a beige 81. There's a 78 Toyota pickup that is in all kinds of states of bad disrepair that you've probably seen pictures of and heard about. And if you're familiar with the old Camden Tubbed podcast, you know the owner of that was the other Bradley Brunel. And
yes,
I don't know even why I got it, but I got it from him because he needed to get rid of it. So yeah, there it is. The most recent acquisitions are probably the 89 Mercor XR4 Ti.
Such a sweet car.
Yeah, it's when it's running, it's great. And I've had it since November. I think I've driven it 4 or 5 times because it's always been broken. And I picked up a 1980 Toyota Corolla station wagon that I've been slowly unshitboxing, for lack of a different word. Getting rid of some pretty poor modifications and trying to make it a little more respectable. And actually traded a set of wheels away to Andrew for a set of wheels that he bought previously and put those in the car and changed out some flared fenders. And I think that's most of the current fleet. There's probably a few I forgot because they didn't sound like 14, but those are the important ones.
You said what year was the Corolla again? You said 82?
80. So
okay.
It's the first year of the E7 chassis Corolla, so TE72. It's a 3TC powered 1.8. So nice. 5-speed, brown over tan, basic just nothing.
Screw it up, brown over tan, just like they were all brown over tan.
They're all brown over tan. Yeah, it has 30,000 miles on a rebuilt engine and 630,000 miles on the chassis. So
nice.
It's a good one.
Just getting started.
Yep, just getting started. That 3TC will run forever. So I've been using it for parts pickup and junkyard runs and all that stuff. It's been
another 600,000 miles. Here we come.
I mean, hey, if I maintain it right? I don't know if I'll be able to drive it that far, but for sure. So anyway, yeah, that's the basic structure of my ridiculous collection.
Structure, huh? Yeah. Structure.
Madness.
I would say that if you guys did this with us 4 years ago, then maybe 2 of them would have run. But as of right now, there are 7 or 8 of them that I can get in and drive. So that's a huge improvement thanks to some big changes in my life. So
yeah,
well done, sir.
Yeah. Oh, and there's a Porsche 944 as well to fit in with you guys.
That's right. Yeah.
So don't forget that.
Go.
And unfortunately,
I've got that thing's cousin behind me.
Yes, that's the 924. That's the non-turbo there, or is it the turbo?
That's the turbo car.
Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason I thought it was red.
No, it's the turbo car. You can tell because it's on the front's on jack stands. That's how you know it's the turbo.
It's not currently running.
Yeah. I just thought it was a car that belonged to one of the 4 of us. That's why it was on jack stands. So
exactly. Well, that too. Yep. Yeah, all right. How about Andrew? Are you there? Are you there with us? You got anything? What is your collection?
Spicy fleet.
Like, are you north of 14, or are you far more sane and civil?
No, that's why we let Brad go first, because it takes longer to get through his cars.
Menagerie.
Yeah. No, I've got. I think do we have 7 at the house, or I have 6. I think 7 includes my wife's car, because sometimes my wife will tell people at work, and they're like, "You have 7 cars at your house?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. What's the big deal?"
To be fair, the 14 also includes the wife's 2 cars.
Okay.
She has a '68 Mustang and her Hyundai, so that's
okay. That's
those
fair,
are her 2
I suppose.
Cars.
Yeah.
I can't drive them all at once. So what difference does it make if they're sitting parked? They're not doing anything.
The way I look at it, if you can drive by my house and not know that I'm a hoarder, I'm doing it right. So when you drive by my house, all you see is the wife's Sonata and 1 to maybe 2 of my cars in the driveway, never more than that. So
whatever you have to tell yourself, Brad, we're with you, man.
This is a support group, right? Yeah.
Sounds good, man.
I'm in the basement of a church here, and this is CA Car Anonymous, and I'm totally fine with it.
That's fine. It puts the lotion on its skin. So what? So you've got like you 6-ish.
Yeah. Let's see. I'll just do the old cars. Well, the daily is easy. That's a 2019 all track with first time I ever bought a German car. I don't know. The jury's still out whether I regret it or not. It's
sweet color though, right?
With a long enough I was gonna say with a long enough tail, you will become to regret it,
Yeah, it's Great Falls Green over the Marrakesh,
nice.
The 6-speed, but it had a weird carbon issue that was kind of annoying with only like 15,000 miles on it. So it's kind of a bummer, but so far it's been pretty good. I threw a tune on it and an intake. I said, screw it.
Why not? Full send.
Yeah, it's been a good daily so far. And let's see, we'll start with the car I've had the longest, which would be my Talon. I've had that for, this will be 22 years.
Damn.
Yeah, because I bought it in 2001. Yeah. That, I mean, I haven't really driven it in that amount of time. I've maybe put like 30,000 miles on it.
Okay.
But the important thing is you did build one engine and at least one transmission for it. So
yeah, I did. And I don't drive it as much as I would like to, but it does run and everything's registered. Everything I have is registered and runs. So that's good.
Oh shit.
Nothing is in project car status as far as like being on jack stands. So I've had that car for quite a while. I got some other stuff I got to do to it. And then the second longest car I've owned would be the Galant VR4. I've had that for 12 years now.
Nice.
That car I bought as a roller, so that car didn't run when I got it. The thing's been all put together and put 30 or 40,000 miles on it. And it's cool because you always see people like, oh, these Galants always break all the time. I'm like, well, if you just kind of build them pretty conservative,
right,
and then you go easy on them and do the maintenance, you can actually drive them. And a couple of years ago, actually, I mean, 2017, it's kind of far away. Like, it's like 5 years ago.
yeah.
I got a 99 Montero. So it's got the wide fender flares. It's the long wheelbase. Because unfortunately, they never sold the shorties here. But you can import them now. But at the time, you couldn't really. So
they're also $75,000 now.
Super.
I know,
super
right?
overpriced.
Raining
that's an Evo. But
yeah,
just a short wheelbase regular one. I think like $12,000.
Okay. That I can.
Yeah, I got that, and then recently, like that was pretty good. Like that's what I had for like a lot of years. Like I didn't buy any other cars, and then in 2021, a friend of ours found a single owner 95 G20, like close by. Like the short version of the story is he saw it while he was out doing grocery shopping, caught the guy as he's putting his groceries in it, gave him his number, said, "Hey, if you ever want to sell this, call me." And like 6 months go by, and he's like, "Hey, I'm ready to sell my car." And he was like, "Who is this?" I don't remember
how many of those notes I left. Yeah.
So
that's a P10 manual, right?
Yep. It's not a touring, sweet. So it doesn't have the limited slip or the deep bolstered seats, but it's like a pretty rare car.
Oh yeah, I had a P11 manual with touring that I had a long time ago. They're dope cars.
I think they're really slept on right now.
100%.
Because it revs to like $8,000 or something silly for just a NA car.
SR20, baby.
Yeah, and it doesn't make a ton of horsepower, but it's got a really good chassis. And so I was like, oh, I'll just clean it up and do a couple things to it. Maybe I'll sell it. And then I ended up falling in love with it. So as you do.
Yeah, so those are cool. Good. I had a junkyard. I paid $250 for a B13 Sentra SER. I mean, it was beat. Like the windshield was completely spider webbed and everything. But I limped it home, and that just powertrain combination, you can just absolutely kick the snot out of it for hours on end, and it just doesn't flinch. Like you feel like you can't hurt it. and I don't know, they're more fun than they are on paper, I think.
Yeah, they're really fun. And I started doing track days with it. And then I don't know, I was like, I need to own 2/3 of the 1995 Infinity lineup. So there's this really cheap 95 Q45 up like close to the house. And I bought that. It needed some work. I fixed it up. I still have that. I don't know what to do with it. I gotta like sell it or something, but that's cool because it's a touring.
Cool.
But it's just like a big giant boat of a sedan.
Oh yeah.
That's that's all of them.
Do you feel an overwhelming urge to chase down your partner and get yourself another baker's dozen, or you feel like you've got the right number, or you maybe want to get rid of a few and consolidate? What are your thoughts on the subject?
So hard-hitting questions, Frank.
I definitely want to get rid of the Q45, and I'd like to find either a French hot hatch.
Ooh.
Like that's a little farther out, but definitely I want a Volvo 142.
Those
I
are
want
cool.
something more 70s and rear-wheel drive with a little bit more space to it. I like those B sedans of that era.
Those are cool.
Yeah, but that
we're also avoiding a couple things here, Andrew.
What's that?
I mean, you kind of sort of have a Cadillac too.
Sorta. It's the family's. It's the family's.
Listen,
Cadillac.
I want to push your numbers so that I feel a little less crazy.
Those are rookie numbers? Okay, you got to step your numbers up.
Yeah, what is sort of a Cadillac? A Catera? What are we talking about here?
No.
This is a Cadillac.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's technically my grandfather's, but I think only I've driven it recently. It's a 75 Eldorado. It's the big front wheel drive one.
So the 500?
Yep.
Nice.
With 27,000 miles on it.
Wow.
The white over the blood red leather.
Perfect.
And, yeah, it's like a crazy car to drive because you're sitting in the seat and literally like you come to a stop sign, it's 6 feet in front of you.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting in the middle of this 20-foot car, so you're like trying to creep through a stop sign, and it's the front. The first third of the car is already past the stop line. You're trying to pull out. It's so crazy.
It's a big dumb car, but it's super cool looking, and I don't want you to skip over it just because I like that car a lot myself.
I bet it's
I love the
comfy
fact
as hell
that
too, right?
It's a 500 cubic inch front wheel drive car with like 130 horsepower.
Yeah, it makes
hilarious.
the same power as my G20, right? It's like
Right. Yeah.
but the torque is out of control.
Through its chain driven 3-speed automatic.
So
Yeah.
absurd.
Yeah, it's super
Absurd
soft.
car. Absurd car.
Whatever they use for the engine mounts, like you can't feel it running. It's really weird.
I think the funny thing that we kind of had to gloss over because I unfortunately just sold it, or fortunately just sold it, is that the big similarity between our podcast and yours that I always thought was funny was that you guys both have nearly identical Nile green Galant VR4s.
Yes.
And for years, Andrew and I had nearly identical Summit white Galant VR4s. So it was kind of like this East Coast, West Coast. You had the green ones on the West Coast, we had the white ones on the East Coast.
The Galant off. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a Galant off. And much like you guys, one of ours ran and one of ours didn't. So it worked out well.
Mine runs.
When was the last time you drove that, Chadwick? When was the last time that thing has actually seen the road?
When did I buy this place? 2021. I drove it out here without, doing anything to it. It was fun. I've owned a couple Galants on the East Coast because I'm originally from New England too. So I had a Summit white out there, and I had a Belize green. So
white's the fastest color.
White is
Belize green is what I meant, not Nile green. I said Nile green, which is Nile black.
How
I apologize.
dare you.
Belize green.
Isn't it Nile black?
Man, I got a Mitsubishi fact wrong, and I am embarrassed, and I'm shutting it down, and I'm leaving.
You're fired. Leave.
I was going to actually have everybody put their hand up that has a Galant VR4 to introduce that question. And then, Brad, but also like real quick, will you ever own another Galant VR4, and why, and how many do you have saved on Facebook Marketplace right now?
I currently have 0 saved on Facebook Marketplace. The Galant was from a different time in Brad's life. If I want to get introspective here. Unfortunately, I bought the car and it blew up pretty quickly after buying it through no fault of the gentleman who I bought it from. It was a fairly well-known car on the East Coast. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jeremy Nutt. He was one of the first guys to Ford G63 swap a Mighty Max pickup. He's just very well known in the DSM scene in the Northeast, and he saved the car from a seller in Florida who had right-hand drive swapped it.
Oh,
And
Florida
done it
man.
very
Wow.
yeah, and he did it very poorly with, cut the firewall out and bubblegum welds, and it was a very unsafe car. He turned it around and he pretty much restored the car, but he put an unknown long block in it with a fresh head. So he never drove it. I got the car. It didn't knock at idle, but it didn't take long to start knocking under a load.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was, God, what'd you say, Andrew? 2016? It must have been 2016, 2015, somewhere back then. And I was just in a place in my life where I couldn't afford to fix it, money or time wise, just due to other factors in my life with partners and children and all that kind of stuff. But that time has passed, and the car was kind of my white whale where I was like, I have to finish this car. It's like the last remaining thing from my old life.
Right.
And then I moved to Phoenix, and the car stayed in the East Coast. And I had this dream that I was going to fly home in stages and fix it in stages. And then I have other cars that were still on the East Coast that always took my attention when I got there, and I never got to it. And next thing you know, it sat and sat and sat, and it sat for 5 years. And it was like, I have to do something with this. And I still wasn't going to sell it until another fairly well-known DSM guy on the East Coast, who's a friend of Andrew and mine. He said, hey, will you sell me your Galant? And I said, all right, I'll sell you my Galant.
Yeah,
because he's the right owner, and he already has the car back pretty much together, and it should be on the road. I'm thinking probably this spring in New England. So nice. That'll be big for the car. It's big for me. It's huge for me to let things go, because obviously when you own 14 cars, you don't let things go. And I haven't been letting things go, and it's really kind of the catalyst to, hey, let's get some things go. Let's move some things on. So that car's gone, and one of the Colts is going to be gone this spring as well. So there's a few cars going away.
Room for a Plymouth Cricket, perhaps, or
if I found a Cricket, it would be added to the collection immediately. I've not even. I don't know that I've ever even seen a Cricket in person. There's no Mitsubishi heritage there either. So
I had a buddy who bought one from when I was in high school out here. He bought one from a tow yard for $150.
Yeah.
And I'm using the term buddy loosely. He was like a friend of a friend of a friend, and he immediately destroyed it. Like immediately did high school stuff with it. And it might be in the Bay right now. Like I don't know.
I'm not surprised. They probably all are. So it is what it is. There's like 12 Colts left in the entire country, I think, too. So it's only a matter of time before I find the right Cricket. But without the Mitsubishi history, I'm kind of like, it's a weird British car. It's not really. Not really for me.
The noisy Cricket.
Yeah, it's a Hillman Avenger, I think.
Something like that. Yeah, something bizarre.
Yeah, it's a weird car. There is a Hillman Avenger GT or a Hillman Avenger Tiger in England. That's a pretty hot car, but we didn't get that here. So
that's a damn shame.
Yes,
Crickets.
Yes, Spain Crickets.
How about you, Andrew? What's on your side? What do you have anything that you're like casually, like if something were to like show up in your neck of the woods at like a 50% bargain price that you would like, sorry, budget, I have to blow it on this thing?
Oh, I don't know. I have pretty good self-restraint. I don't.
We can tell by all the diecast cars behind you.
Yeah, that's where all the that's where the extra money goes. Silly diecasts.
Like if a mid parade shows up, you would just like
maybe It's like I don't know. I'm really holding out for an old Volvo.
Yeah.
And because the prices on those are kind of going up, but and strangely, even for this, well, not super strangely, because New England there's a lot of Volvos, but the older ones have kind of rotted away, unfortunately. Yeah. So I keep having to look at like, occasionally I'll look at like the Southern California or NorCal area for old Volvos.
Yeah,
that seems to be where they lived and survived.
Yeah, or didn't rot.
Yeah.
How old are you talking? Like 850Rs, or are you talking like straight up old vintage 60s, 70s?
Like I think a 142 they made from like 67 to like 72.
Nice.
Yeah. So I've never owned that era of car. I want something with metal bumpers. I've always had 80s and 90s cars. And actually mostly 90s cars. Like the oldest car I think I've had is like my first car was an 86, but that was a 740 Volvo, which kind of had urethane bumpers, I guess.
Right.
So it wasn't really like it wasn't like an old chrome bumper American car from that era.
I can confirm his restraint. I tried selling him my 944 and he was interested until one day he was like, you know what, Brad? I don't actually need it, so I'm not going to buy it.
No.
Don't need it.
So
Wow.
I've changed my mind. So there we're at. So he does have constraint.
Yeah.
Much more so than
Wow.
me.
Yeah.
I kind of like what I have. I just got to get rid of the Q is cool. It's just not for me. It's for somebody else. And I just didn't want to see it get like, because the guy was like, oh, if I can't get this thing running, I'm just going to donate it.
Oof.
And I was like, well, don't donate it. Then he gave it to me for super cheap. And I was like, all right, cool.
There you go.
And it's like a 50,000 mile Q45. So it's actually a really cool car. It's just, it needs to go to the right owner.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Through the magic of the internet, I'm sure you can find a loving home for it.
Yeah, hopefully.
yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
What color is it?
It's purpley silver.
Oh, interesting. Okay. That's fun.
I forget what the color is called. Over black.
And it is a T, so it has the BBS wheels and the rear spoiler and all that stuff.
Super comfy cruiser too, right?
Yeah.
I used it for a rental car last time I was in Massachusetts for a week, and it was good. I mean, it cost as much as it would have cost me to rent an economy car in fuel.
Just in fuel. Yeah.
But
Right.
it was definitely worth it because it was a great car to drive. They're quick too, surprisingly for the era.
Oh, yeah.
As a mid '90s car, that big V8, the car scoots pretty well. So I was impressed. It's not the kind of car I want either, but at the time, I think I still had my Saab, maybe.
Yeah.
So I didn't need a Q45 as well as a Saab. But now that I've driven my Saab into a wall, maybe I need to add the Q to my collection. Who knows?
There you go.
Were you the
There
first
you go.
person
The rich
in
get
history?
richer.
Yeah, the first person in history to ever say, "I didn't need a Saab and a Q45."
Probably. I've said a lot of things over the years.
That's a
as the first
unique
person in
phrase.
history. Yeah. But what am I going to take? My Saab 9000 or my Dodge Colt? That's probably something that's never been said before.
The ultimate 2-car solution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's part of the 14-car solution, so don't worry about it.
Exactly. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
how about this? Do we want to? I know you guys have on your show. You guys have your own games that you like to play involving questions and ads and such, and we have our own print ad quiz game that we like to play here. And so without further ado,
we're going to do this.
I suppose we should just do this. How about I cue it up? I will be the reader of the quiz today. And Chadwick, do you want to go ahead and explain to our friends here, as well as those playing along at home?
Yeah, so many playing at home. Yeah. So real simple, guys. It's an automotive print ad quiz game. So we're doing a print ad. So an advertisement in a magazine periodical from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. So Frank's going to read the ad, omitting anything that definitely gives it away. Any catchphrases you guys are going to know off the rip, or manufacturer, or sometimes the year we'll leave in there, but we'll see how tough it is. We know you guys are going to be good at this shit. So we tried to make it a little tricky, I think. I don't know what the car is. I am a lifeline if you guys need me. But Frank's going to read the ad. You have 3 guesses. So just 10 minutes on the timer. If you fail to get it, you can ask for advice, a hint, or whatever. Use me as a lifeline, I guess. But let's get to it, Frank. Good luck.
So using you as a lifeline, to be clear, you don't know what it is, Chad.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be a hell of a lifeline if I knew that.
He can lend his opinions.
Right.
Or misinformation.
Or lack thereof.
Lead you astray.
Well, I like how you said you did this difficult, because when I listen to you guys, I have like a pretty high accuracy rate. So the fact that you made it difficult is going to embarrass us now.
Good luck, guys.
Bring the heat.
Go extra spicy, Frank.
So, okay. So this, it is a single page ad. In the middle third is an image of the vehicle. It's red. It's the ever popular front quarter shot. And it's in some sort of a building. There's like light coming through some square openings in the background. And on the top, it simply says, hip, cool, rad, awesome, deaf, fresh, best model in initial quality in its price class, hot, fly. That's actually literally what it says. And then at the bottom, it says, there's a little bit more to chew on here. It says, blank starts at around $13,000. Yet it is ranked best model in initial quality in the $12,001 to $17,000 price class. It comes with a driver's side airbag standard. It has a twin cam, 16 valve, 100 horsepower engine, and some real responsive handling too. So not only is blank hip, cool, rad, awesome, def, and fresh, it also makes a lot of sense. Call 1-800 for a brochure and the location of your nearest dealer. That's it. We are light on information, but we are heavy on really exciting adjectives here.
Heavy on cringe.
I have 2 guesses.
Easy.
You guys talk amongst yourself. Just when you're like, this is our official guess. Like, then let us know.
So we're to the other.
Yeah, you guys can. Yeah, you guys are. You guys are
tag team
here. You guys.
What were the engine specs again?
I'm thinking.
All you got was 16 valve, 100 horsepower.
Okay, I also have 2 guesses. So
timer has started.
Timer started. Andrew, where is your brain?
I was at either Dodge Neon or Mark III Golf.
I'm at neither of those, based on the horsepower numbers. That both those cars would have been over 100 horsepower. The only 2 cars I can think of, and it's got to be like 90 to 92 probably, and all of those adjectives to me mean something sporty, but 100 horsepower isn't.
I think it's
something sporty.
An economy car they're trying to make sporty.
I think it's something def.
I think that's what's happening here. It's definitely an economy car. It's a version of a car that maybe is the more sporty version of a less sporty car, and probably is a coupe. And there are 2 cars that fit that category. There's the Hyundai Scoop, which was about those kind of specs, and the Toyota Paseo would have been the same era with those specs. And both of those were basically, the Scoop was in the sporty Excel, and the Paseo was like a sporty Tercel. Sporty in appearance. Obviously, that 100 horsepower is not going to make it a very sporty car. But
which would you say was more hot or cool or fresh?
That seems like a Hyundai ad campaign.
No, not at the time.
Toyota ad.
That seems like a Toyota ad campaign at the time.
All right. Okay. Well, if that's being the case, I'll use my opinion of the 2 cars and Andrew's saying it's Toyota, and say it's not the Scoop and it's the Paseo. Is that a Toyota Paseo?
Final answer?
Final answer, probably 92. 91.
So not only is Paseo hip, cool, rad, awesome, def, and fresh, it also makes a lot of sense. It is indeed the first gen Toyota Paseo.
Wow, first time go.
Look at that.
Yeah.
That was a tough one.
That's a 1.5 liter, right?
I thought it was a 1.6.
I think it is a 1.5.
It could be a 1.5. It could be 1.5. The Scoop,
and you're on it because it's just a tarted up Tercel, effectively.
Yeah, and the Scoop is a 1.6, and it's right around 100 horsepower. I was genuinely going to go Scoop. So Andrew, thank you for the little end right there. But yeah, right. Yeah, I was going to go Scoop, but
I mean, I was in the right wheelhouse with a sporty-ish economy car.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
The Neon had like 120 horse, and the Golf would have had somewhere around the same. So that 100 horsepower number took me to a real shitbox.
Well done. Well, I found another ad that was kind of ridiculous and really in the same kind of wheelhouse as far as type of car, but I couldn't find one that had enough spec. I found like the type copy was absurd, but the first gen Pulsar NX.
Oh, okay.
One. I found some really good ads, but like literally the only information was like drag coefficient, which like what psychopath memorizes drag coefficient? So I don't think I'm going to get that.
I forgot that car existed because that would have fit that ad copy too, actually.
Suzuki Swift earlier. Suzuki Swift GTI or GT as it was later renamed also fits right in that category.
There would have been something about the turbo though, I'm pretty sure. Or they were always but they're always big on valve count.
We got the non-turbo ones.
Yeah, Swifts were NA.
Okay.
Yeah, early ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
We also they were always big on telling you how many valves it had because their sporty cars always had like, twin cams and valves, and this one did nothing about that, which is why I went like super shitbox economy car.
It's funny when they're like 12 valve, and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing that
8
math.
valve.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's another
It has
similarity
valves.
between our show and your show is that we have a similar game we play, which you guys guessed on our show we will play, which we
Yay.
call Craig Don't Tell Me, which is the same thing, but Andrew and I read Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace ads, and we
I know what
leave
if
out
not.
some of the information. And so it's not a professional ad copy anymore. It's just some jamoke writing a Craigslist
Boy.
ad in 2023. So
Exactly.
there can be some pretty rough ones right there too. But we try to make sure there's enough info that you could potentially get it. So
There you
I know
go.
what I've got, bro.
That's right.
yeah, exactly. A lot of those ads
friendly.
have that.
Yeah. Well,
I generally
good
try
job.
to like
Here's
search the
the
middle of the
golf
country
clap
somewhere.
for the victory. You guys
Awesome
are
job. Paseo experts in the house today.
That's right. Pick one of those up.
you can.
Sorry.
There you go.
The cooler sporty Tercel was the Tercel Blackhawk. That's the one I would pick up.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
with the little bird.
The little golden eagle thing on the side. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Didn't they make
even know
didn't
why.
you get like a red hawk as well? It was the same thing, just red.
It was a Black Hawk, White Hawk, and Red Hawk.
Yeah, and there was white. That's right.
I like the 4-wheel drive wagon myself. Kind of.
Yeah, it's a good Tercel though.
I owned one of those
Basically
for
a
an
Honda
hour.
Wago van,
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
but the Toyota version. Yeah, I'm into
That's
that.
right. Those are
Yeah,
dope.
that's cool.
Anyways,
But
at
that was
this
fun.
point we normally do we usually celebrate by just doing PCP.
Sure.
Which
And Project Car Progress.
that's the other half of that. Yeah, if you're not up to getting wet.
Listen, I've never seen your actual video of your podcast. I've only listened. So when you say you're doing PCP, I assume it's Project Car Progress. If you actually do PCP, then I'm out. But I won't judge.
To be fair, I actually have no clue how someone actually does PCP. I would love to pantomime
Yeah,
doing
exactly.
PCP, but I don't know.
I
how
haven't
it-
Googled it either. I'm kind of scared of someone finding my history.
No, yeah, it's already freakish enough.
Yeah,
I don't
we'll
need to
skip over that.
add weird. Do you smoke it? I don't even know. Anyway,
Midget porn and
discovering-
PCP.
In lieu of discovering how one actually abuses the drug PCP, it's Project Car Progress. Mine is almost none. So I'm kind of just going to take myself out of this equation because all I've done is like add like dust to the 924 turbo behind me.
It's looking good.
You guys, I'm sure, are doing work on something. And who knows what Chadwick's been up to. But frankly, our listeners are probably sick of hearing what either of us have been up to. So in lieu of hearing his trials and tribulations on a certain red car behind him, what have you guys been working on? Andrew, you want to go first? Have you been working on anything?
Well, unfortunately, no. It's wintertime here, so I haven't really touched anything in like a while. Yeah, it's just kind of like I ordered some parts for stuff.
That
That's
counts.
something. That's
Totally
progress.
counts,
That's a slow boat.
Yeah, a bunch of tune-up parts, so I'm ready to go. And like just like the dumb things like wipers and air filters that you just need,
Mhm.
and I can just
Get up-
throw them in because I probably
You
have
have
some
Rock
mice.
Auto because they're like super on
Yeah.
discount. Yep.
Yeah, because I
Way to
probably
do
have mice living in the air boxes from sitting outside, so I'd like to clean them out. Yeah, I go through like because it's so much cheaper to buy like wiper blades from Rock Auto because you just buy them ahead of time and they're like $2, and then it's not a big deal if you get them all shipped from the same warehouse. You're buying
That's it.
6 pairs of wiper blades. That's pretty much it. I gotta like change the oil in the wife's car. Needs a gear oil change, but yeah, she's got a cross track with like 50,000 miles on it. So
Nice.
There you go.
but that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, fair enough. Progress is progress, right? And then how about did you just, as he was talking, did you just purchase another vehicle off of Marketplace and that's your progress, or what are you
I
up to over there,
didn't.
Brad?
I've got a
been-
Gallant, guys.
I've been unemployed since the first of the year, unfortunately, so I have not bought any cars.
Well, you've done a
That
lot
leaves you
of
time to work
project
on
car
stuff then, right?
I've done quite a bit of project car stuff, yeah, which is a good
Nice.
thing. If you go back to the last few weeks of our podcast, you'll hear
Yeah.
the trials and tribulations of plastic Ford fuel line.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
been dealing with the fittings and stuff on the Mercor because one of the issues that I received with the car was that it had a leaky fuel pump, which after many times trying to figure out what it was, turned out that the body of the fuel pump was actually leaking fuel, which I've never seen, but it was leaking out at such a level that it seemed like it was the connections. It was not
Weird.
the connections. It was literally the body of the Bosch fuel pump, which it must be an old fuel pump because it is a Bosch part. And instead of saying Bosch on it, it actually says Robert Bosch, which I've never seen before in all my years of working on cars. So I've also never seen a fuel pump leak out of the body of it. There's no cracks. There's no anything. It's just where the canister kind of end goes in. It's just spitting out the end. So I eventually figured that out. Found somebody to fix the hoses in that. My Corolla wagon, I think I briefly touched on. I did a fender swap on that, done a fuel regulator on that, and some other minor things on that. I have an 81 Cressida that I've been toiling away on. Actually, last time Andrew was here in Phoenix, we did a bunch of vacuum lines on it. And then he left. All my motivation for that car went away, and I closed the hood and covered it up and hadn't touched it again until earlier today. And I've been putting the remainder of those vacuum lines on, and a couple other cars, a couple other parts. That car sat in the desert for probably 20 years without being driven, so all the rubber stuff was just annihilated, and the car didn't run right. So we're trying to make that run right. God, what else have I been doing? Just tons of little things on everything. Nice. There's no. Give us a listen, and we'll get you through all of it. But there's been a bunch of little stuff. The most random one recently, that yellow fog lights on my 1978 Colt.
Sure.
We were going to bed one night, and Naomi said, "Brad, come here." And I was like, "Well, that's a concerning thing coming from the dining room at 11 o'clock at night." And she goes, "Why are the fog lights in your car on?" That's concerning because I haven't been out there, and they were definitely off a while ago.
Right.
And I went out there, and so Andrew and I had installed them, and we relayed them, of course, because we are responsible car owners. And at some point in time, and this is probably 100% my fault and not anything to do with Andrew when he helped me install it, I think I changed the coil, and I was using a shared bolt on the coil. And I think maybe when I tightened it and turned the relay with the bolt, and it was facing the wrong direction, and it was pouring rain that night. And I think that water just ran down and ran inside that relay. And obviously water is conductive, and it conducted, and the lights just turned on. So Weird. It didn't make much sense, but I put a new relay in it and everything's fine. I pulled apart that relay and it was full of rust. So that's obviously what happened.
Okay.
But some would say don't mount relays upside down.
Yeah, some would say short, some would say rain sensing fog lights.
That's right.
It's a sales pitch, except for the fact that it would have killed the battery if I hadn't noticed. And we'd have been screwed come the next day. So it wouldn't have really helped. Thankfully, they're also fused. Perfect. So hey, it's all fixed now. It's got new relays in there, and everything works. And those are probably the most recent project car things. That's all in the past week. So it's been busy times. That's what happens when you have too many cars. You don't ever get anything done on any of them because you're doing little things in all of them.
Can relate.
Can relate. Yeah, I see hoods up in the background of the video here. So yeah, exactly. All my hoods are closed. So actually, that's not true. Most of my hoods are closed. So
there you go.
It's only because the battery's charging in one. It's
a likely story. It's a slippery slope. It's a gateway drug, so to speak.
Thankfully, I'm not in the Northeast, so we have a car show next week, and I have a car being prepared for it, and the battery's on charge. So
nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty much it. Thanks for hanging out and doing all this. I know we've been kind of doing a back and forth in various channels for a minute to make this happen. So thanks for participating and being part of our Dog and Pony show. Where if people want to get involved with what you guys are up to, how does one do that? What's the most elegant way for people to participate in your show? What's it called? Where can they find it? All of those things.
Pitch your individual efforts too, guys, for sure.
All right, you guys want to get some pen and paper ready, because unfortunately it's grown a lot lately, it seems.
All right.
We have the Auto Off Topic on Instagram, Auto Off Topic on Twitter, Auto Off Topic Podcast on Facebook. We also have an Instagram dedicated to our scale auto cars called
Scale Autocast.
Scale Autocast. Thank you.
Let me finish that one for you.
Stop me right there. Scale Autocast. We are working with a couple of other friends on a website called Parked on the Block, which also our Instagram is Parked on the Block, and our Twitter is Parked on the Block minus the K, because it's too many characters apparently. Where we're doing basically what Bring a Trailer started as, where aggregating cars for sale from all over the world into one place. Just cars we find interesting, putting them up there. If you want to look at it, make some comments, read the little blurbs about them. It's certainly nothing fancy. It's just a kind of a way to try to build a community of people over these things. And it's very heavily random cheap car heavy. Occasionally there's some heavy hitter cars on there, but we generally are posting cars we're interested in. So it's crappy old Mitsubishis and Datsuns and Toyotas. And
hey, that was perfect timing when you guys had that really sweet Bonneville. At the time, mine was for sale on Cars and Bids. It was like it was meant to be.
Perfect. Had I even thought about it, I would have done yours, but I didn't think about that. So
it's okay. Pretty soon, in 4 years, you're going to turn that into an auction platform and then sell it to a massive media conglomerate for hundreds of millions of dollars. So I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for you guys.
We're not of the idea that we want to turn it into an auction platform. We are of the idea that we'd love to sell it, though.
There you go.
I unfortunately, until December, I worked for one of the big auction platforms, and it was not. It's not as cracked up to be when you're in the inside of it. There, I'll put it that way. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that, as consumers, you probably don't even want to know. So we'll just leave that alone.
All right, there's more to that story. We'll save that for another.
Hey, listen, I'll come back on again and do a whole thing about auctions if you want. I didn't sign the NDA, so
yeah, world.
I'm going to dial that back a little bit, but
so you got the parked on the block.
Parked on the block, and then my personal Instagram is TSI SS350, which is obviously my first two cars, TSI and SS350.
How about you, Drew? Where can they find you?
So, Auto Off Topic Podcast is on all major platforms. You can find
what I've heard.
Yep, easy to find. So Google Music, is it still Google Music or Google Podcasts?
Google Podcasts.
I don't use it. So
on Friendster,
I use Apple Podcasts, but we're also on like Amazon, stuff like that. So
LimeWire,
Yep, Napster, and
Bearshare.
Me, follow me. I am Racing on Instagram, and you covered all the other ones, Brad. So
I tried. I think
I'm also on Twitter at that name, but
if you got any one of those, it all gets linked together somewhere, so you'll find us.
There you go. You just get drugged into the soup. You get past that. You get one of them. It's like the event horizon, and then you just get sucked in.
Yeah, sure. And then like Racing or on Flickr too. So.
Or follow Frank and Chad and look for us when we like one of their posts, and then you can find us through there. I don't know what you want to do.
We've done it. Come full circle. Well, thank you guys. We very much appreciate it. Thank you, listener, for tagging along and watching. If you are doing so on the YouTubes,
listener.
That's right. Otherwise,
there's like one or two of them. Come on.
Yeah,
there's a couple. There's like they know who they are.
Yeah, you can listen to us.
We're not listening because we're on this one, so you're down half your audience right now.
That's true. That's fact, actually.
We'll count those as downloads, right?
That's right.
But you can follow us at APA Podcast on Instagram and YouTube.
That's right. And then, otherwise.
What you, Frank, personally?
People don't care, but if they do, it's the Photographer's Garage on most of the things. How about you, Chadwick?
Auto Obsessive Garage, same turd box rescues and restorations that you're used to not seeing anyway. So
there we go. And then after like 7 minutes of plugs, we did it. So thanks for listening along, guys. Listen to us, listen to them, Auto Off Topic, and thanks for doing this all with us and putting up with us.
Yeah, thanks again, guys, and thanks for all the listeners. Peace.
Bye.
Take care.